Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the most overpowered one-handed sword build in Code Vein 2. Now, this is a unique weapon here that has a special fire attack on it, which does some pretty insane boosted damage. As you can see there, we're doing 6,000 damage on a charged heavy attack. This is absolutely absurd, and the best part about this is we have some weapons from the very start of the game that are amazing too, but this one with its very unique moveset is a personal favorite of mine. I love that jump attack there that does a huge fire blast. I think it's hilarious, but a very powerful weapon that can just completely stagger log bosses and take them out quickly. And not just that, but we have weapons that'll do ice attacks as well, and we'll be breaking down all of that in this video. The fire and ice weapons being Flame Blade here, as well as Ice Blood. I'll cover different weapons here, and if you got the deluxe edition with the Ami no Habakiri Greatsword, this is a solid one that you can get at the start of the game and use all the way through to the end. I also want to talk about Carmilla's Thorn here. This is another amazing weapon that's got a great moveset, similar to the Ice Blood. The nice thing about this weapon is the Rapier moveset gives you a really great charge heavy, which closes distances, and it's got a fast attack, so if you want to use things like Blade Dancer, you can go ahead. With Thorn of Devotion being a similar weapon later on as well. I also want to quickly mention the Blade of Tenacity Thunderstrike, which adds a bit of lightning damage onto your attacks. But my personal favorite, actually, for a lightning-based weapon is, funny enough, the Resurgence Flame Sword. This one is really strong, and it can have the highest attack rating out of all great swords. Or should I say one-handed swords. The best part about this is it comes base with fire damage, but we can also add lightning damage on too, which is one of my favorite ways to go about doing this weapon. I do also want to put out some very early on weapons you can use with the Argent Wolf Blade here, which is an amazing one, and the Ancient Hunter Sword, which is also acquirable very early on. The reason I like these weapons so much is they have a very low burden, so that means you can get the quick dodge, which I think is almost essential on a one-handed build. And you get the Argent Wolf Blade. It's actually over here by the Sanatorium. Whenever you're in the Timeline Shift Holly mission, you're going to be going into a tower here. And the Ancient Hunter Sword is one of the very first Jadwiga minions that you can come along with, and I'd recommend stopping along a few of the other ones here in the early game. Weapons like the Flame Blade and Ice Blade are purchasable, and even the Carmilla's Thorn. These are purchasable at Mag Mel. At the very start, when you warp in, you're going to go to the left-hand side. You can purchase them from the Jadwiga minion there. And also the Resurgent Flame Sword. Now this one's a little bit more challenging. There's some that have a consistent drop. This one you have to farm from enemies. And if you want to get yourself a Resurgent Flame Sword, this one, again, we had to farm here. We're actually going to come to the Luna Rapaces. It's a late game weapon. You're going to come over to where the Jose fight is. And there's these guys here, which you can see have the weapon. You can farm this off of them. It's actually pretty easy. You're just going to go refresh it right there and keep trying. And it's got a bit of a drop rate up to it, so it may take a few attempts. Now, I'll show you the best blood codes depending on the weapon that we're going to be using. The Ancient Hunter Sword is one of the best early game again because it's got those low burden requirements, meaning you get that quick dodge, which again is super useful. You can see there, this game is ridiculous how much of a quick dodge and how beneficial it is. So we typically want to have that, especially for a quicker moveset like the one-handed sword. Now, for most of the weapons that have a stat spread like this that are scaling off our strength and dexterity, my recommendation is to use the Jose's blood code, as this one's going to give you the highest amount of damage and also the best benefits. Another one that I do want to quickly mention is Noah's blood code. This is another solid one that's got the high strength and dexterity. It's just that the Jose blood code has higher strength here and a much higher mind stat, which is important for a few buffs that I will mention a little later on, because some of them will scale off for our mind, and that also extends the duration of those. Vitality is also a good skill because it gives us health. You'll get more than using Noah's blood code. So these would be the ones that I'd recommend for any of those great one-handed swords that have that strength dexterity scaling, like the Ancient Hunter Sword, the Ami no Habakiri Greatsword, which also scales of her mind. This is really good on this setup with the Jose blood code. Carmilla's Thorn works well, although I highly recommend using Noah's for hers because hers has a higher dexterity. And I'd also recommend Jose's for the Ice Blood. But I think that the two best weapons, especially if we're going on into the late game, would be the Resurgent Flame Sword here. And I like to put an imbuement of either fire, ice, or lightning on it, with ice being my preferred option because this increases the willpower scaling. All the Resurgent Flame weapons with an enhancement will get S+, meaning that Holly's blood code ends up being the best for them because of her very high willpower stat, which fuels this even greater. It's honestly insane. And this is the case for the Resurgent Flame Sword, but also for the Flame Blade, which has similar scaling. Like this one has the S+ in willpower, so it's obviously better. This one's more so A+ in dexterity. You can't modify this one. And I do want to note that the Flame Blade does have a lower amount of max damage than the Resurgent Flame Sword, but I'm going to show you guys the difference here because I played around with both of these. They're both very cool looking weapons, but the Flame Blade, despite having lower stats on paper, ends up having higher damage output. So you can see here the attack scaling of the Resurgent Flame is 1032 with this particular setup. And then also with this one here, it's only 914, but this is where it gets a little confusing because a single tap from this Resurgent Sword does 1300 damage. A single tap from this is 900. That's a big difference. However, let's look at their light attack combo. So if we go through for the full combo, that does 4,900 damage. If we go for the full combo here, the Flame Blade, we end up getting even more damage with 5,212. It's the final hit of that combo that does more damage, making this weapon better. That's not all, folks. The Charge Heavy is insane. 4,000 damage on this one, with the Charge Heavy for the Resurgent Flame taking a little bit longer, 2,800. I do want to note that this one does have a projectile that it shoots off that does a bit of the damage there, whereas this one, you just have to use that and get the fire attack. Now, one last thing. This one, the Resurgent Flame does not have a jump attack that's very good. You do like a little slash, 3,000 damage, pretty stellar damage. This one, however, jump attack, huge flame explosion, great for mobbing, more damage. It does eat up 4 of your Ichor to do the charge jump attack. And I'm not sure why, but the charge attack that does the insane damage there doesn't end up eating any of your Ichor. So you can just continually spam this charge attack. And if you play Code Vein 2, you're likely going to be using your charge attacks often just because they are very powerful in this game for stance breaking. So in my conclusion, the Flame Blade is slightly better in most situations. Resurgent Flame Sword does look better again on paper, but it's that final attack of the combo that boosts the Flame Blade up past the other one, but also the jump attack and the charge heavy attack. They just make it a little bit better. Although both weapons are fantastic, I just want to note that because they are very similar in how they work. They're both fire weapons, but Flame Blade is the truth. I like it a lot. You can get by with using either of these, and I tend to swap between them depending on the moveset too. I just want to cover that there. But that takes us to our offensive Formae. Now, Blood Reaver Blade, by far the best choice in this game. Some people like the longbow. They can use it. It's totally fine. Same as their MK Rosenritter, which is really fun, just not as strong as I wanted it to be. The Blood Reaver Blade, however, is very good. This is good whenever the boss is distracted. You press the left trigger, wait for the second flash. I did a little bit too early. 4,728 damage. If we do the fully charged, it's going to be a lot higher here. There it is, 7,530. This does insane amounts of damage. You can scale it up. I don't have any items on right now, but just want to showcase how good that can be. It brings us to our defensive Formae. Now, you want to have the quick dodge if at all possible. So with this setup here, I'm not going to be rocking a shield. I'm just going to roll with the Clotted Light Shield. You can also use some of the different ones like the Vanishing Hollow if you like the dodge or dodge spin. Personally, I just like the shield just to keep it simple. It's not really going to be doing much when we have a quick dodge. That's really our main concern. It's just easier that way. That brings us to the Jail Bat, just by far the best choice here. Some people like Ogre because it comes out the quickest. Some people like Stinger and Ivy for long range. And some people like Reaper if they like parrying. But there's just something about Bat being able to restore your Ichor over time. You can charge it up too and do this jump back attack, giving you a bit of mobility. It does a bit of damage. And you see the Bats here will continually keep getting your Ichor back. So what's great is you can just start using your big boom attacks here, and you have your Bats there being able to replenish your Ichor. So it can be pretty nice with the amount of replenishment you get from that. And that takes us to our boosters. Now, you need to obviously shuffle these around depending on where you need the stats, but my preference being for the boosters is to have the Dexterity +2, especially if you're using Flame Blade. Now, these will depend depending on the weapon you got, so I can't make a full, you're just going to have to look and see which one boosts up your damage here. I'm using the Flame Blade. The Resurgent Flame Sword would want to use the Willpower instead of Dexterity because that's where it scales from. So I'm using both Dexterity boosters. You can, if you're using a Strength one, use the Strength or the Willpower, as it implies. So I also have things like the Strength booster just to maximize damage. You may want to play around with these. One that I will highly recommend, or I guess two that I'll highly recommend, is using the One-Handed Sword Mastery. This will give you a 20% damage boost. It's good. We want that. I also, if you're going to use Blood Reaver Blade, take Devotion here, which boosts the damage, although it does have a high burden in your Strength and Dex. Just be mindful of that. I'm also a fan of the stamina boosting ones, just good if you want to get in and out of combat quickly, but one that I think is essential is the Steadfast Stance. This is absurdly strong. Survive a fatal hit with 1 HP if above the threshold. What this means is if we get an attack that would kill us normally, we'll have 1 health point left where we can heal, replenish this effect again. It's insane, because this saves your teammate from going down and resurrecting you, meaning you're going to prolong fights. Now looking into our weapon skills, two that I would highly recommend is Blade Dance. Since one-handed swords attack pretty quickly, you can scale up the damage that this will deal really fast. So this just means that every time that we attack, we're going to continually increase the percentage boosted onto our damage. Same thing with Overdrive, it boosts our damage. We want to have both of these applied pretty much all the time. Look below your health bar to see if they're applied. This sword comes built in with Blaze Shot. I like this one personally just because it has a 1 Ichor cost and it's a ranged attack. Kind of can stun, not really, but there's certain enemies that you can use to pick it off with. I also like Venomous Shot. The reason I like this weapon or this so much is that Venom in this game is busted. I like to use Venom applications as well. The only downside is my favorite way of putting Venom on a weapon is the using the version of it that you can get as a skill here with the Venom mark. But unfortunately, you can see the conversion right beside my head is 7 to 6, so I can't use it on this sword, unfortunately. Another one that I do want to recommend here instead, if you don't want to use the Venomous Shot, is to use the Bridge to Glory. This one also has a high conversion cost, so you will have to shuffle them around, but this one scales off of our Mind stat. So if you're using the Lou Blood Code or any of the other high Mind ones, you can go with those. I like to have those 3 damage buffs, but this sword can't accommodate that, so I'm going to put Blaze Shot and Venomous Shot here. Alternatively, you can use some of the attacks here. I just found the jump heavy attack from this so good to engage with that you get more damage out of it than using any of these abilities here. So I personally preferred using that and charge heavies because you got 2 range attacks, 2 buffs. I think that that works pretty well. But if you do want to use a type of attack here, Vanquisher is nice for a bit of a dodge. It does have a 6 Ichor cost. Judgment Cutter is another nice one, even Severing Abyss, but I found this worked best. So when we get into a fight, we typically want to buff up our weapons. Keep an eye on them below you. You also want to get in and do some attacks so you scale up the Blade Dancer. But you can see here, we can pick away with some fire attacks from range and then go into opening up with our jump attack, which I'm a big fan of here. I'm just going to try and get to an opening and boom. Sometimes the VFX for the jump attack won't appear. It's a little bit weird. I just want to note that. So yeah, unfortunately, it'll sometimes absorb the Ichor. Like I'll go to do it right here and we just got Ichor. Oh, there's the fire. I'll do it again. No real VFX there, and you see we're all out of our Ichor. So yeah, that's one of the benefits of having Bat there and Lou's using Bat, which is going to give us our Ichor back as well. But it's nice because you get that jump back from it, which you can then use to engage in a fight just like that. Yeah, we got a lot of stun potential with this weapon. It's pretty crazy. I personally find this to be good with the charge heavy from behind. If you can get that to happen, that's typically the best way to go about doing that. And then you can use your jump attacks as you need them. But the damage from this is pretty absurd. We just took out the boss there. And yeah, that is a absurdly strong one-handed sword build in Code Vein 2. I personally think that the bayonet ends up being the absolute best in the game, and I got a build for that as well. I'll have linked in the comments, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below, and we'll catch you all in the next video.